This is Deborah Johnson for Women at Halftime, and I'm passionate about helping women use their untapped skills, resources, and talents to create their ideal work and lifestyle, making a difference in their second half. Deborah Johnson here, and it's great to be back with you with this amazing subject, preventing burnout while making a transition. And you're probably thinking, oh my goodness, am I ever creating a transition or making a transition right now because my business has changed, my life has changed, we've been in this pandemic, everything's changed. Or maybe you have been making a transition, hopefully you have, and you've started to pivot big time. But we want to be able to prevent the burnout that happens when we're running so hard. And we do have to run pretty hard when we are recreating and reinventing, definitely. So today is all about that and some of the tips that I can give you on preventing burnout. It's one of the reasons why I decided to start my music membership, my Learn Music Again, even earlier than planned, because it has that power to lower stress and to create a diversion, which is very important in preventing burnout and taking those little breaks. And as people are losing confidence and losing hope and facing fear, it's nice to have something like music, even if people feel like, maybe I've taken piano years ago or taken voice years ago, and I'm no good. I can't get back to that. I will change your mind on that because you can. You definitely can. I've just heard that phrase so many times, and that's why I put this out there and am launching this music membership. In fact, it's exciting to me because I have taught privately so many years, and I'm not doing that anymore. But this is my way of being able to influence and affect so many more people really worldwide and to take advantage of this. It's very reasonable and really fun. So make sure you check it out, learnmusicagain.com. The card is still open and it will be closed. When this airs, it'll be closed in a couple days. So make sure you jump on and at least get your free download. But how do we prevent burnout? What is the definition of burnout? First of all, it's fatigue, it's exhaustion, but it's including mental exhaustion. It's not just physical exhaustion. And as we know, in fact, that mental exhaustion can feel even worse than the physical exhaustion. And that can lead into depression and even emotional collapse and a breakdown if it goes too far. So we do need to be aware of the dangers here. But it usually burnout happens when you're trying too hard or there's stress surrounding a situation that's unforeseeable and even unavoidable. And we've been through some unforeseeable and unavoidable events recently, of course, in businesses completely shut down. Nobody could prepare for this. This was not expected, and it was very, very sudden. Of course, that can cause a lot of stress. How am I going to get through next month? How am I going to pay my lease? How am I going to survive? So that's, all of a sudden regrouping. Now you're working harder than ever. In fact, I love what I do, but I have been putting in more hours than ever in doing, launching this music program early. And I'm getting ready for my professional development course, which is a new way of doing business, which is a great online course coming up. But I'm getting all of those ready even earlier than I had planned. And so I'm working extremely hard. And so many people are doing that same thing. They may look calm on that outside. They're at home working, but they are paddling very, very, very hard underneath the water. They're like those little ducks. So, and maybe you are trying to cram too many things that aren't working into a very small hole. I mean, have you ever tried to pack a few more things into a suitcase that's already overweight? That's very embarrassing if you have to actually open that suitcase at the airport. Yes, this has happened to me. But we do the same thing with our schedules. And, we just cram in a few more things. Now, one of the things I've started to do more than ever during this pandemic is my husband will find some of these old movies. And I am not a TV watcher. I usually don't sit and watch the shows. I usually go back to my computer and work for a little bit more, or just, something like that. But I have been watching those old movies, and they've been really fun. And, I get a little bored of, watching too much. I'm just not a sitter. But it's been a good diversion for me. So if we're just running so hard, just make sure that we can recognize when we are facing that burnout. And you might be panicked as well, not able to pay those bills and letting discouragement and fear taking over. And maybe you've wanted to make a transition, but now you really have to. Okay, so there's no choice. And now there are businesses that will no longer open after months of no income. Well, how do you ever recover? Some of the small businesses, they're not going to be able to reopen. I mean, how can they even regroup? Maybe they didn't have enough in savings. And I mean, you really want to have enough of a buffer there, but sometimes that's just not possible at certain points of time, and that's very, very, very stressful. And you'll definitely be in a transition. But adding the stress of finding a business that will work for you and being profitable at this point, what if you are closing your doors? That's also, brings that tension and stress. And now, what about money? When you're behind on bills, you're working harder than ever, exhaustion, of course, there's that burnout. And even if you're doing what you love, there's that danger. And I just want to take some time to give you some preventative measures here, as many will be reinventing, regrouping, and restarting at this point of time in our history. And this really applies when making a transitional change at the halftime of life as well, because you are regrouping, reinventing, and you could be facing burnout at this point too. If you're starting, especially if you've been working for a company and you've been working for someone else, well, what if you decide all of a sudden, I've had this dream for years, and now you're becoming an entrepreneur. That's a different mindset. I'm a lifetime entrepreneur. I know what it takes, and I know the hours and hours that I put in, but the joy that I have as well, and what it takes to start a project and to finish a project and to get that to completion. That's why I can help others do this so very well. But I know what it takes to do that, and the vision that you need to have, the mission that you need to have. So these changes really apply to not only during a pandemic or after a pandemic, but also during the halftime of life. Even if you've been consistently working, the stress of a ramp up can be exhausting. So anyway, we all want to be, we talk about running a race, but when we actually start that running, it feels a little bit different. So we're thinking about it, but all of a sudden when that time comes, it's like, it's here. You mean I really, really have to start? So anyway, today is all about training just a little bit. So I'm going to talk about 4 main steps here. And first, you want to be able to set a goal, and not just a goal, but I've been reading Michael Hyatt's book, The Vision-Driven Leader, and also Donald Miller's new book, Marketing Made Simple. Both of those books, excellent. Of course, I love Donald Miller's Story Brand book too. It's excellent. But in both instances, you need to have a very strong mission and a vision statement. And if you start running aimlessly, you'll exhaust yourself before long. And your route can change along the way, but your end destination should be very, very clear. And when you have that vision and when you have those goals, it takes a little bit of the stress of thinking out of it. So we make ourselves, and as well as some of our clients, we make them think too hard, and we want to make it easy. In fact, that's been one of the goals that I have in recreating some of my online content. I want to make it as easy as possible. I don't want people getting stuck on the technical aspects. I don't want them getting stuck on too much information. I want to make it easy and enjoyable, and I know how to move people forward. I know how to help them learn. But how to make it easy, that I have to stop and really think and really work hard at that. Well, in our personal, professional development and in our learning, we want to take away a little bit of that stress on ourselves as well. I mean, what are we spending too much time thinking about? I think some of those businesses that do those delivery of the meals and they take out the thinking they just deliver them and here's the instruction. You don't have to recreate everything. You don't have to look it up. Now, some people love doing that, but if you take away a little bit of that mystery out of it and you provide a service like that for someone where they don't have to think so hard so they can focus their thinking in other areas, you've just done a great service for them. And there are many businesses that work really, really well with this. And if that is your business, congratulations. You are helping people being more productive in other areas. That's huge. And so that could be part of your vision and part of your mission. And in fact, that's part of my vision is to be able to affect more people worldwide with online programs. I'm able to do that with the online content and putting everything virtually, and that places I can't be. There's only so much travel I want to do. I want to do more for entertainment travel at this point in my life than just work travel. I've traveled a lot. And so that's a great mission. As part of my vision and my mission is to affect a lot more people that way with quality material and fun and enjoyment with the products that I create. So that's number one, setting that goal. And in that, it's your vision and your mission. And it'll go into more depths if you can look at either of those books that I put in the show notes or review your personal notes that you have. And number two is to plan breaks. And I'm a type A personality. I run pretty hard and I get up very early. And by very early, I was born on a dairy farm, so very early means very early, very early. So I remember growing up and my dad would go out to breakfast and he'd meet one of his brothers or his dad. They all kind of lived sort of local and they'd meet at a local coffee shop, and they'd meet like at 4 or 4:30 in the morning for breakfast. And I thought, oh my goodness. But now I find I'm getting up at 4 or 4:30 in the morning because I just wake up. So I get up, I do have my time of devotional time and a journaling time that I have very first thing. And then I exercise, I work a little bit, but I get a lot done before a lot of people even get up. So I just, I just run pretty hard during my day, but I do break it up and I take these little mini breaks and even 10 to 15 minutes to take a walk or to talk with a friend. That can all do the trick. I take a little extra time to read during the day. It's just those little breaks. You just have to plan on them. You have to give yourself permission to take those little breaks. And of course, when you're working alone and by yourself, being that entrepreneurial endeavor at this point, and if we are coming out of this sequestration, which is great. Many people have just been all alone, and it's a different thing to be all alone and to now schedule yourself. Okay, so how do you do that? How do you, when do you stop? You feel like you're just always go, 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 go. And then you have the interruptions. If you have the interruptions of kids or you have, other family or whatever, but you've got to be able to schedule in a little bit of those breaks. And if you don't schedule them in, maybe your family will schedule them in for you. That's okay, however it happens, but it's better if you just plan on them, and it'll give your mind a little bit of a break. So number 3, don't live in a hurry. And this is a little bit different than just don't be in a hurry. There may be projects that you have to push out the door, so you can work hard and work hard along to get those done. I have done a lot of projects. I'm looking at my wall where I have, because I'm in my office as I record this, I've got a number of albums that I've put out, and I have them all framed, and they're hanging on my wall, and each one has a little different story. And I've pushed each one of those out the door, as I say. There's a process for getting an album done, and it's not just one time you go into a studio. No, you go in and then you redo the track, and there's a vocal is not quite right, the instrumental is not quite right, and you have a number of pieces in here. And musicals are the same way. They are crafting and recrafting and rewriting, and books are the same way. So, it's working hard to actually get them all the way done. But not living every day in a hurry is very important. Sometimes I've rushed projects a little bit, and I will readily admit this. It's like, I get this idea, and then I just want to do it, and I do it. I just do it. But taking the time to really work with your plan. And I've backed off of that a lot more, especially recently. I've done so much. And as I look at all the content I've created, tons of content, and I want to be able to use that content even more. It's like I work from one project and then go on to another and another one and another one, And a lot of us live that way, that are creators and that are innovators. We love to invent. We love to create. But get out of that habit of always running the treadmill. Because once we get off that treadmill, it feels a little bit strange. Like, okay, I'm not doing something right now. Okay, so am I like not being productive at all? But if we don't stop, and if we tell ourselves, it's okay to not always live in a hurry and to be in a hurry, it's okay. I remember this one little musical. I think it was a church musical, and it was way back. I think it was in high school, and one of our music leaders, and I was very involved in the music at that point too. I think I was playing a large church. I was on this like 9-foot Steinway every week, whatever. But I was singing in this little musical, and I still remember one of the little songs, and it was like, always in a hurry, always in a hurry, always in a hurry, day and night. It's like, I've always remembered that little melody because that's the way we live sometimes. So I have no idea what it's from, but that little melody just stuck with me. All these years, just because it's very true of so many of us, and it's been very true, of course, of my life. So, I want to be able to stop and enjoy, and I just run fast. I go fast. I got to slow myself down, even walking. And it's just my little temperament that, give me a cup of coffee, and boy, I'll walk faster. My goodness. So, and number 4 is to create a diversion. Now, there's been times that I've been on the ski slopes, and we brought our kids, our sons, we have 3 sons, and we brought them to Mammoth Mountain, to one of our local mountains, and got them on the slopes early. And whenever I would get on those slopes myself, of course, the first thing I was thinking about, if I haven't been on the slopes in a while, was like getting off the lift and making sure I didn't fall and knock down everybody around me, of course. But when I am going down that mountain, there's really nothing else I think about except for the beauty around me. And even going up on that lift, just the complete diversion that it is. And when our kids were small, I was a music director at a church. It was a startup that ended up being like a mega church. We grew from like nothing to 3 services when I actually left, but it's very, very large. So I was working a lot. I was doing some private teaching. I was doing a little bit of travel, had 3 young kids, homeschooling, and I was music and arts director. So it was like, it was busy, very, very busy, and starting to do some of my writing. A lot of times I would write late at night. And so the diversion of even getting on those ski slopes for me was so great. I could feel it mentally. I could just feel it. And I can just feel it right now, actually imagining it, of that diversion that it really does create. So find something that will create that diversion. Another diversion would be getting back to a hobby or even music, like I am encouraging so many people to do with my Learn Music Again program. There are many programs out there. This one's specifically tailored to those who used to play that want to play again. You don't have to be great. All you need to know is the very, very basics. But it's a complete diversion, and it's really worth doing it at just that 10, 15, 20 minutes a day to even get to that music. And it's a stress reliever, and it keeps your mind sharp with all of the reports that are out there, even warding off some of the Alzheimer's and dementia, which would be plenty for me to make sure I keep my music going. And I'm all for keeping that mind sharp and lowering my stress and all of those, double and triple dipping, on my time and efforts. So going through these again, number 1 in this session that we've had on preventing burnout while making a transition or any time of transition, whether it's coming out of our COVID-19 or whether it's at the halftime of life, it definitely applies. Number 1 is to set that goal. And I would really encourage you to not just set a goal, but to really work through what your vision is. Your vision will take you 3 to 5 years down the road. You write that in the present tense. You write where you imagine yourself being. It's like your vision board. It's like your dream board. That's what you're putting down in that statement. And it's okay to dream. Do that. And your mission is usually that one sentence. Your vision gives you the where you're going, and your mission statement says all about the what. What is it? So it's that 1 to 2 sentences. It's very concise about what you are and what your business is and what your life is. So that's your goal. And then you can kind of set your strategy after that. Number 2, you want to plan your breaks. And sometimes those that are of us that are type A's, we do need to plan them. Now, I married a type B. You can listen to that episode. It's a previous episode here with my husband when a type A marries a type B. And Greg's a great guy. But he's a different personality. Professional athlete, extremely talented, but he's a different personality. And he takes breaks easier. It's just easier for him than me. I'm a hard-running, project-centered person. So, understand who you are and plan those breaks. Number 3, don't live in a hurry. It's different than don't be in a hurry. Don't live in a hurry. When you talk about live in a hurry, it's like a lifestyle that you're always, running and behind the game. And what helps you here too in your don't live in a hurry is if you plan ahead, you're able to, not panic about all the things that you have to get done. It's just, that, if you don't get it done today, just put it on tomorrow. There are so many great planners out there, a lot of those. That's not what this episode is about. It's the main principle of don't live in a hurry. So that's one of the principles. And then number 4 is to create a diversion. And you need to create it in your own life. Decide what that's going to be, whether it's taking an art class, whether it's getting back to your music, which I really encourage you to do, especially if you've ever taken music before. Don't be afraid to get back to it, whatever program you decide to go with. There's so many out there. And just create something. Go on small trips, taking your walks around your neighborhood. I take a lot of walks. Of course, I have during our pandemic. I did a lot more walks than normal. My dog got a lot of exercise. But the fact of just taking that break and creating that little diversion does so much for your headspace and your mind, and make it easy on yourself. So let it have a little bit of a break. So I hope you've really enjoyed this, that it's given you some freedom in thinking about preventing a little bit of that burnout. We don't have to live completely stress-free. Of course, stress, when you're feeling it a little bit, you know that maybe it's a symptom of something, and you need to look at different areas of your life and see, okay, what is this associated with? And sometimes those goals too, they're going to be the things that push you ahead to get your projects done. So go ahead. Yeah, definitely run hard, but yet you don't want to completely face that burnout, because remember the definition of that. The burnout is fatigue, and it's the exhaustion, including when you're absolutely exhausted, you're not worth anything. So don't get to that point. Don't let yourself get to that point. So anyway, I hope you've really enjoyed this episode. It's really encouraged and helped you. Next week, make sure you tune in next week. I'm so excited about this subject because it's how the spirit of competition can help us regroup, reinvent, and restart. And Greg and I are together next week. And he, of course, is a former professional athlete. Of course, I am in the music field, so we've been in different fields, but both in the entertainment fields. We understand competition. We understand having to work very, very, very hard to get to a certain level. And he was at a really top level in his field. But it'll be really a good time to talk about this, because normally at this time of year, there's spring training and playing baseball. There's so many things, that he's watching and following, and it's just a different year for that this year because of our pandemic. So, but as that athletic training, all of that he has gone through, there are some really great principles, and from my training as well as a trained musician, that of competition, because I was in constant competitions, but how that spirit can help us regroup, reinvent, and restart. So I think you'll really enjoy that episode. So, and if you like this, please tell your friends, and I'd love it if you left a review, no matter if you like it, if you don't, no matter what, but to at least leave a review. Let me know you're listening. And until next time, I will see you then. This is Deborah Johnson for goalsforyourlife.com, womenathalftime.com, also djworksmusic.com, but you find most of my information on all of those websites. So I will look forward to being with you again soon. And bye for now. Thank you for joining us on Women at Halftime. Visit goalsforyourlife.com or womenathalftime.com for many more resources, downloads, and programs, or to get in touch with me. I'd love it if you leave me a review and tell your friends. So until next time, this is Deborah Johnson, signing off.